Well, I'm certainly not going to accuse him of not making sense because I think that Morning Joe going to Mar-a-Lago speaks volumes. That's number one. Number two, I just think it's important the point that Bill O'Reilly is bringing up. For years, he had the no spin zone. For years, you've been on television. And no matter what opinions people may have had about you guys, the fact of the matter is that you never spoke about people the way that we heard people speaking about Trump going into this election. And as again, putting myself on Front Street, I didn't vote for Trump. What did I say? What I said was I think the presidency is a statesmanship position to some degree. I didn't like the way that he divides the country, and I didn't think the country needed that. What you never heard me saying was the kind of stuff that you heard on Morning Joe and beyond.
Kimberly Johnson and I were just down in Mar-a-Lago meeting with Donald Trump to talk about finding common ground. And you know what?
Especially Kimberly.
I have another announcement to make. Guess what I did to Donald Trump?
What?
I stink palmed him.
Did you?
I put my hand in my butt and then shook his hand.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you. Good boy.
You're so adult.
You know, we gotta. I mean, it's for national service. I mean, I'm trying to do my part for democracy. Just trying to make him sick.
Oh, Nick Fuentes just reaching out a hand to all us fat, ugly, screechy bitches. What else? Masculine something?
Yeah, we don't like masculine men.
He called you fat, Stephanie.
Yeah.
Wow.
Now it's a problem. Tom's going to have a thing or two to say about that.
Wow, has he seen any of the ladies that were at LA Sexy Liberal? Because, okay. Wow. Including,
Well, you know what? When
let's
you
start
just
with
played
Kimberly
that-
Johnson.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well,
go ahead.
that Nick Fuentes clip you just played, the number of people who heard Nick Fuentes when you just played that clip,
There's more people than-
listeners than he's had in like 5 years. Because I don't know anyone. I mean, who listens to Nick Fuentes? All I know is that he pops up on social media occasionally. I don't see him anywhere on the podcast platforms or YouTube or anything like that. He's just sort of this troll who lives in his mom's basement, and every once in a while a video pops up, just a random clip of something that no one else ever watches.
Yeah.
Strange that he keeps going.
You retweeted Ricky, who said, a Trump supporter I've known for years told me yesterday that I take politics too personally. You know what? I do. My Venezuelan in-laws' safety, my 3 daughters' reproductive freedoms, school shootings, etc., all very personal. Yes.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. That's what I was saying during the break, that I've aged about 10 years in the last 14 days. And I think it's a lot of that has to do with the fact that I think we all have this thing
like 2
called
weeks ago.
empathy, you know?
He's not even president yet. This is only, remember how young we were at LA Sexy Liberal 2.5 weeks ago?
I know. We're just little tiny babies. We're just like Muppet babies. We're all
so happy.
So young and carefree, fancy-free.
No more sexy liberals before a presidential election. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Oh, my God.
Okay,
but, you know, it's the empathy. I mean, we have empathy for people. We don't want to see people get hurt. We don't want to see people get steamrolled. We don't want to see ourselves get steamrolled in all of this. So there's so many different dimensions to what we're facing down here, which is the broader geopolitical dimension of everything, the domestic policy dimension, plus our own personal safety. Like, how is this? I mean, everyone's having conversations right now. Okay, what are we going to do? Do you got your passport? I got my passport.
Yeah.
Are you ready to roll? Do you have a go bag? We all have go bags now. We're like Mike Ehrmantraut from Breaking Bad. We've got a rental car parked at a airport parking lot in a garage, and we've got, just a duffel bag filled with cash and
I am
just
really
ready to bug out.
You know what? I got to go do some stuff. You guys talk to Bob.
Okay.
Realize I don't have anything. Water,
I have a go bag.
Water, batteries. I got nothing.
Oh.
So even if an earthquake strikes,
I don't have that either.
For it?
I keep rating it, and then I'm like, oh, there's nothing in there now.
No. You need an earthquake bag, which is a go bag.
Yeah.
Yeah, everyone I talk to is just like, "What are you preparing? Are you ready? Are you ready to get out?" I said, "Well, no.
I'm not going anywhere. I
got no place to go. That's my thing.
Yeah, we are all Richard Gere now, an officer and
That's
a gentleman.
right.
We're all spitting on each other.
I ain't gonna quit. I got nowhere else to go.
drool.
The only
coming-
place that's welcoming Americans right now, I saw an announcement by the mayor of Copenhagen in Denmark, up there in Norland. He's inviting everyone, Americans, to
Fantastic.
come stay in Copenhagen.
No, I'm going to stay here and irritate as many people as I possibly can.
There's a city in Italy that is inviting Americans to live there. They're actually paying Americans to come over and live.
I have a bad
Oh, wow.
Italian
See,
memory from college, as you recall from yesterday's show.
Well,
I can get Italian citizenship because of my
you.
grandparents.
To
you
your
go.
point, Bob, Theo tweeted, if being woke, which I get called often, means I have empathy, consideration, respect for people, all people, regardless of their culture, skin color, gender, or sexuality, as long as they're not actively choosing to be garbage humans, then consider me happily woke. I'm so. This is what I was doing when I was paying attention to you, but I was also Googling. Hold, please, Bob.
Okay.
This the famous John F. Kennedy quote. I'm not very good at Googling.
Ask not what your
No,
country
not
can
that
do
one.
for you.
What it means to be.
7 years ago.
It's what it means to be a liberal. The good Kennedy, not the deranged brainworm.
Jack?
Yes.
We all live on this small planet. We all breathe the same air. We cherish our children's futures.
All right, hang on, Bob. If by liberal they mean someone who looks ahead and not behind, someone who welcomes new ideas without rigid reactions, someone who cares about the welfare of the people, their health, their housing, their schools, their jobs, their civil rights, and their civil liberties, someone who believes we can break through the stalemates of suspicions that grip us in our policies abroad, if that's what they mean by a liberal, then I am proud to say I am a liberal. We have to embrace this again. You know what? A big hearty you to the Nick Fuentes of the world, right?
Well, there was a big move I remember after the 2004 election, and stop me if I've said this before on the show. I don't recall. As I said, I've aged about 10, 15 years in the last 2 weeks. But there was a similar reaction after the 2004 election where we all felt like we just had to sell out our values and become Republicans. There was I don't know, there was something like, 25 states passed ballot measures to ban same-sex marriage.
Mm-hmm.
George W. Bush
I
was
remember.
reelected with, I don't need to go into the gory details.
That's when Chris
But it
made
was
his
a
go
pretty-
bag, when they had that cake with the two grooms on it. That was his first go bag.
That's right. It was a dismal period of time, and so we did end up coming out of that. We did make it through, and with democracy somewhat intact, I'm happy to say. How that happens this time, I'm not exactly sure what the path is, but here we are again, and I think there are ways to get through. I think there are ways that we can hang on to democracy in some form.
Also, you retweeted Brian saying Dems are doing a lot of soul searching, but I think this chart is the actual takeaway here. I think Harris did a lot with the deck stacked against her, and Trump still didn't crack 50% of the vote. I mean, it ended up being 1.5 or so.
Right.
By the way, less of a margin than Hillary beat him by.
Thank you.
In the popular vote, which I'm sure doesn't bother him at all. But, and again, that's, by the way, Bob, as we tend to do in the fact-based universe, that's just facts. I'm not trying to do spin or make people feel better or be in the liberal bubble. The fact is this was not a landslide and not a mandate. And so they want you to feel like that and to do exactly what we've been doing, all beating up each other and what's wrong with Democrats and, oh, God, and just give up, right?
Right. I think ultimately what we're talking about here, because the margin was so narrow and the fact that Donald Trump did not get past 50%, indicates that there was just maybe an issue with messaging. Somehow there was a disconnect between certain voters and the Democratic message, and that's a bridge that I think we have to cross. I think we have to reach out and make sure that we win back some of those voters that decided, I don't know about this person, I don't know about that person, so I'm just going to go with the thing that's familiar because he was already president once, and I don't know, I liked it when it was 2019 and everything was okay, seemingly. And that, I think that's not a difficult hurdle to clear next time around. I think those people can be won back. It's just, in fact, as Chris has been saying, that we need to make the effort to make sure that, one, we're not selling out our values, but two, that we're trying to connect with certain people who voted Democratic 4 years ago and maybe switched over to Donald Trump this year. I think those people are winnable again.
They are.
And beyond, by the way, progressive infrastructure, Bob, like you and me, we have got to stop thinking the mainstream media is our friend. If anything, they go to the opposite side to prove they're not liberal. You know, I mean, look at Joe and Mika on the liberal network. They think that's going to grow their lost liberal audience, is going to suck Donald Trump's. This Janet Jamel tweeted this. If the media had covered Trump's plans to end entire government agencies, purge universities, deport dreamers, and fund the government with tariffs like they covered Biden's debate performance, we might not be in this mess. That, I think, in many ways, is the original sin. You know, they pounded him out of the race. And, you know, go ahead.
Yeah, I think a lot of the aforementioned voters who may have swung toward the right this time around are probably low propensity voters who, unlike us, I mean, we stare at this stuff 24/7. I mean, we're deeply ensconced in everything that happens in politics down to a granular level. A lot of people only vote based on what they heard as they were walking by the TV in the living room for literally 5 seconds. And then a pollster calls up and says, what do you think of this issue? Oh, I just heard that thing that I overheard on the TV as just walking through the room. And that's how decisions are made.
You know, I mean, Kamala Harris didn't lose. She didn't lose on, you know, some people say trans issues. She lost on the people believed that she was doing trans surgery on illegal immigrants in prison. Yeah. You know, that's what I mean.
A whole lot of disinformation.
Yes.
I want to go back to that time, and I don't know how this is even possible with cable and internet and things not necessarily being the purview of the FCC. But remember the movie Quiz Show about the rigging of the game show 21?
Yeah.
There were congressional investigations about a game show lying to its audience about how the game actually worked, how they were giving answers to contestants they wanted to elevate as being telegenic or whatever. And now we're in a period of time where anything goes as far as disinformation, lying, deceiving the public.
Yeah.
And how do you square that circle? How do you rein that in without trampling on free speech? And that's a gigantic conundrum because we face this period of time now. We have been for 20 years.
They call massive COVID disinformation that was killing literally millions of people. Oh, that's free speech and you can't squelch that. I mean, you retweeted our friend Stephen Beschloss, who was on yesterday, and said, let's keep these facts in mind as the anti-vax onslaught accelerates. And just the number of people that died of measles, mumps, rubella, diphtheria, smallpox, polio before the vaccine and after.
That's right.
Spoiler alert, smallpox and polio, zero died after the vaccine, right?
Yeah, and very little accountability as far as that mass death goes. Obviously, Donald Trump lost that election in 2020. I mean, in part because people were tired of the lackadaisical response, the negligent response to COVID, the death that was occurring, the recession that occurred. I think that was another big factor that certainly hurt Donald Trump last time around and maybe helped him this time, was the perception of the economy. So these are, I mean, we're asking all these questions.
Not the economy, the perception of the economy.
The perception of the economy.
Disinformation. That's exactly
right.
Back.
Yeah. And so this is something that we need to focus on in the future. And I sometimes wonder, is commentary, is what we do, is the function of a campaign, the persuasive function of a campaign, is that even relevant anymore? Or are people just making decisions based on how they perceive things in their everyday life and the persuasive effort made by people like us or candidates or whoever, commercials, videos on the internet? Does that work anymore? And I'd like to think that
let me tell you why
does.
You are the key to saving America, Bob Seska.
That's right. That's why I've aged so much. We're all putting this on ourselves. Like, damn it, what did we do wrong? And no, I don't think it's that. But
Chris and Jody, we talk about it all the time. But you are entertaining. That's the key. It's like you're funny, you're entertaining. Yeah. It's not. Nobody wants to listen to just talking points on either side. So you know that's how I keep saying support this cinematic universe. Everybody in it. You know that all.
Now more than ever, you have to support independent media because obviously corporate media has failed us time and time again. I can't stop saying this has been the worst year for the political press that I have ever witnessed. And I've been following politics and journalism for 40 years now, since the 80s. And this is been an abomination this year.
So many people said they can't imagine what Eric Boehlert would be thinking now.
And now corporate media is being spun off.
It is. Well, some of it
is. Oh, right. Yeah,
also,
that's an interesting thing.
Yeah, it is.
I heard you pitching love to me on your podcast the other day, and I love
you
you
pitch
back.
woo?
You pitched woo to me.
He does pitch
He's
woo.
pitching woo. That's right.
Verbal wed woes is how romantic. Thank you. I feel the same about you, and you lift me up too. And that's what I keep saying. Please, in honor of Kamala, lift someone up instead of beating them down, and especially because everybody, we're all having a hard time for different reasons. And thank you for. I know I called you, we texted, we've been texting, and listen,
thank you for that.
You and Kimberly, please get an omelet for me at the Omelet Bar at Mar-a-Lago later when you're down there.
Yes, we'll think of you when we're at the Prime Rib Bar later this afternoon. After water polo, we're gonna
with Donald.
Marco polio. See, that's
that meme.
Bobby Kennedy. I love you, Bob Seska.
Hey all, Glenn Kirshner here. I hope you'll join me on my new audio podcast, Justice Matters. I'll be using my 30 years as a federal prosecutor and Army JAG to unpack, break down, and explain the legal issues of the day, particularly where the legal intersects with the political. Please look for Justice Matters with Glenn Kirshner wherever you generally get your podcasts.